So in today's video, we're going to look at what is the best method to generate leads, whether it's offline methods like door knocking or leaflet drops, or whether you should start generating leads online through things like Google, Facebook, and Instagram. So obviously, as a company, we primarily use online methods, particularly Meta, to generate our leads. But that's not to say there isn't pros of doing it offline or using other online methods. So in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what you should be doing to generate leads, depending on your specific situation as an installer and as a company. So jumping right into it with the pros of offline lead generation. The main one that I think a lot of installers benefit from when doing it offline is being able to be super targeted with your outreach. So you can include things like EPC data, the off-gas map, like you can see both of these over here, to pick out areas that match the exact type of property you're trying to go after. And they're also just in general very good for installers looking for very specific property types. So for all the installers that are cherry pickers out there, they want the off-gas F&Gs, or they want a specific type of property. Offline is very often a good way to go because you can be quite particular in who you're outreaching to, which doors you're knocking, which properties you're sending leaflets and mail to, which you can't necessarily do too well with something like Facebook and Instagram. Second benefit is just the trust and engagement you get when you personalize and actually have face-to-face interaction, particularly with door knocking. When you build that rapport with the customer, you build the trust, and also before you go ahead and book that technical survey, you can actually take a quick look at the property. So all of these things mean you get higher conversion rates, so you get less leads dropping off once you've taken their application, and also potentially more referrals as well. So if the person that you knocked on their door or dropped a leaflet to actually like you, they're more inclined to refer neighbours, friends, family, all that sort of thing. So you get a bit of a flywheel here where potentially you could knock on one door, turn that into a customer, which then turns into the whole street. Again, I'm not saying you can't get this through online methods. Obviously, you can still get referrals and you can still get conversion rates from leads that come through Facebook or TikTok. But it's just more likely to happen when you build that face-to-face rapport with a customer. So last thing that's the main benefit of offline lead generation is cash flow, and there's not as much upfront cost required for it. So you can quite easily get a door knocking team or send out leaflets with little to no upfront cost, just paying on commission or just paying a few £100s to get the leaflets put together. On the flip side of things, if you want to set up a marketing campaign properly, you're probably going to have to put in at least a couple of thousand upfront before you see any return on that in the form of installs and actually getting paid out by your funder. So for those businesses with tighter cash flow or who are newer businesses who don't have that sort of investment to make, then potentially looking at things like leaflet drops and door knocking is a easier way to get your first few installs than looking at the online methods of lead generation. So second way or main way to get leads, obviously looking at online lead generation. So as I mentioned, that is mainly things like Facebook, Instagram and Google, but also potentially other platforms like TikTok as well. So main benefit that we see is just how scalable it is to generate leads online. So say you're spending £2,000 per month, you're happy with results and you want to get double the amount of leads. In most cases, you increase your budget to £4,000 per month, and in just a few clicks, you're getting twice as many leads coming through to your business. So you don't need any additional staff or any headaches on the front end in the form of more door knockers, more lead gens, more leaflets to sort out. It's very much just a case of increasing the spend up until a certain point. Obviously, there's a lot more work that goes into actually managing the ad account, but it's a lot easier to scale a Facebook campaign than it is a door knocking team when you want those really big install numbers. So you can think about it as like a cyclist being very streamlined. That's your online way of generating leads. Whereas when you're trying to do that through things like door knocking teams and leaflets, it can be a very difficult and hard process to scale as quick as you can online. So just to put that into context with this stat here, there's over 50 million people on Meta in the UK alone. So that's 50 million people that you can reach very easily by setting up and running an online advertising campaign all across the country. Obviously, if you're doing door knocking or if you're doing leaflets, to hit 50 million people is near on impossible, or it's going to take an awful lot of people knocking doors. So if you are looking to scale things quickly and get a lot of installs, then looking online is probably the best way to go for you. Second thing that I've picked out is cost efficiency, particularly as you start scaling. So the more optimized you get your online campaign, so whether that's Google, Facebook, Instagram, the lower the cost per lead and the lower the overall cost per acquisition actually is. That is not the same as it is with door knocking or lead gens, where there is almost a middleman between it. So to increase the number of leads that you get through door knocking or through lead gens, you're never going to decrease the amount you're actually paying for a lead. You're always going to have those costs where a lead gen whacks on a premium for being the middleman, or for door knocking teams, you need to add another 5 people to the team, which obviously comes with salary and commission. So when you do want to start hitting over, 30, 40, 50 installs per month, doing that through online methods can make a lot of economical sense, financial sense, particularly when you start getting it right and start getting it optimized. Final sort of main benefit of running campaigns online to generate leads that I've picked out is just how fast you can get results. So we've had dozens and dozens of clients who come on board with us, launch their campaigns online, and in just their first few weeks already getting those surveys and installs booked in. So if you check out the rest of our YouTube channel where you're watching this video, you can see plenty of client interviews where they speak about how fast the results are. And we've now worked over 100 eco installers to do a very similar thing. So it's not like canvassing or leaflets where there can be quite a big lag between what you put in and what you get out. That's not to say that online campaigns are instant, but very often you can literally launch a campaign and within that first month or two, you'll start seeing that return and start being able to scale things because of just how quickly you can reach people and turn those people into actual customers as well. So essentially, choosing the right strategy for you boils down to 4 main things. So firstly is the volume, so how many leads are you actually looking for? Secondly is your current business situation, so how much cash do you have available and how ready are you to invest that cash? Third is your criteria for leads, so how strict or flexible are you for the type of leads you can actually install? And then the fourth thing is how wide of a location do you cover? Are you quite a local installer? Are you covering the whole of the UK? So these are the kind of the main 4 things to think about when you're deciding between setting up your canvassing team or growing your canvassing team, or whether you should actually consider using online lead generation methods and completely scrapping the offline entirely. So if your business kind of fits into these 4 buckets, then it's kind of the chances are you're going to have more success using offline lead generation. So if you've got very specific lead criteria, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to cherry pick the good jobs or a specific type of job, that's usually easier and more risk-free to do that using offline lead generation methods. If you've got a very local coverage, so for example, you're just covering a specific region or a specific area, again, door knocking with a local team is probably a better method for you than doing an online campaign. Third of all, if you're a newer company with less cash flow, as I mentioned, you don't have to deal with the bigger upfront costs of running an online campaign. And then fourth is if you have lower install targets. So if you're just looking for an additional 5 or even 10 installs per month, chances are you can probably do that through a door knocking team. So if you already do that, if you already drop leaflets, it might not be worth going through the hassle of actually setting up an online campaign. On the flip side of things, if you are an installer who is incredibly flexible, so you're installing all the measures, you do GBIS, you've got Flex, then generating leads online is going to be very easy for you and something if you haven't done, you should genuinely look at. Secondly, if you've got a very wide coverage, so you're covering a very large area, potentially even the whole of the England or the whole of the UK, again, it's quite hard to cover all of that and actually maximize your potential through offline methods. So you may want to start looking online to be able to hit all those people and hit all those properties very efficiently. Thirdly is if you have a decent number of resources to invest, you don't need to be a millionaire to launch an online campaign, but as long as you have a few £1,000s to put in before you start seeing those installs, again, looking online might be the next best step for you. And then fourth is if you're looking for volume. As I mentioned earlier, online is a very scalable way of generating leads. As soon as you get results in a good place, you simply increase the spend and get more leads. So if you are someone who has an uncapped amount of installs they can be doing or want to be doing, then the chances are you should look online for your leads, or at least part of your lead flow to come through online, because it's very easy to get a lot of leads very quickly. All in all, as I mentioned, there's no right or wrong answer to where you get your leads from. There's very successful companies who just do it through door knocking. On the other side, there's very successful companies who just do it running online campaigns. What you need to consider is your business's current situation and your goals and what's going to work best for you. So if you do fall into these 4 buckets here, where online might suit you and it's something that you're not doing at the moment, or you're doing it but it's not quite going to plan, then feel free to check out the rest of our videos on YouTube about what we do and who we've worked with. And obviously, if you do want our support, or if you want to discuss what we could potentially do with your business, feel free to click the link in the description, make an inquiry, and one of the team will run you through exactly how we set things up and what we can do for you.